Happy Friday, folks. Welcome to the Sportsline podcast. And what a week it has been for sports news in Southern Ontario, the country, and quite honestly, the world. As I always maintain, the Golden Horseshoe has produced high-level athletes, teams, executives, and in today's case, a TV producer who, in my opinion, is one of the brightest in the business. And even better, she's a huge sports fan. There are many behind-the-scenes all-stars at CHCH, and no doubt Laura Sebben stands tall. Well prepared for media at Mohawk College and Brock University, this individual has grinded out her time as a production assistant and a lineup editor. With a keen knowledge of news, politics, sports, and entertainment, Laura was one of the lead hands in the creation of this station's daily program, Trending Now. But today, she's all hours of the Sportsline podcast, Laura Sebben. This is actually overdue. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. You know, and it's great to have people from, all over the region come in here. But we've got a bright star right here at this station.
Thanks,
that should have been here a long time. And now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, this is your last day at CHCH.
It is. Yes, it's my last day at CHCH after about 6.5 years here. It's definitely bittersweet, but I had to make some decisions for myself personally, and unfortunately, leaving CHCH was one of those decisions. And it was really hard because all of our coworkers, as you know, are so amazing, and I'm going to miss you guys, obviously, every day. But yeah, I'm excited for the future.
I got to ask this straight up. Like, how did you, because I think I have about 3 or 4 people that when something in the world of sports happens, I need their opinions. I want to talk to you. And you're one of them. Where'd this love for sports come from?
I think it came from my dad. He's always been super into sports, and I tried playing them, but I didn't love the competitive aspect. I always felt like it was way too much pressure. And so, yeah, I honestly think I was just looking for a way to like bond with my dad after like I stopped playing sports. And yeah, then I realized I was like, oh, this is actually kind of exciting. Like, I like following the sport. And it's always fun to like actually go to the games. And we're lucky enough to live in a place where we have the luxury of being close enough to go to almost every single professional sports league, a game. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it spawned from, was trying to connect with my dad and then being like, wait, these games are actually fun to attend.
He must love it, though. I mean, I don't think there's a father out there that's like, yes, my daughter loves sports.
Yeah.
You gotta love it, eh?
Yeah. It's fun. We took him to the Ticats home opener for Father's Day. So, yeah, we try to get out there as often as we can.
Is there a favorite?
Like for him or for me?
For you.
The Blue Jays would be my favorite. They're, I don't know. I love to hate them,
what,
you know?
Annoying?
Yeah, I love to hate them, exactly.
I mean, yeah, it's been a long, long time. I think we've all been kind of waiting for this team to win. We'll get into a little bit of that. So now, okay, so we mean, and just before, the Trending Now thing, I thought, for you, and knowing what kind of person you are, and obviously I talked about it off the top, it was a perfect fit for you. I mean, and the fact that you pitched a show that I thought was really relevant in terms of what's going on a daily basis, and it's been a huge hit.
Yeah, I've always loved the news. Like, one of my favorite things is being the first person to find out about something and getting to break that news to other people. So yeah, Nicole and I were just looking for something new and fresh to do here at CHCH. We wanted to continue working here, but elevate our career here a little bit. So we came up with this idea, and yeah, like, first thing I do every morning is just hop on Twitter, Instagram, and see what's going on. So it was just kind of this natural progression of, not only is the news moving forward into like what is online, like, let's take that and run with it and see what's everybody already talking about, and then just dive right into it.
I think it was really a beautiful meshing of someone like yourself, who I thought was just the perfect producer for a show like this, and the perfect host as well too. And I see you guys grinding. I mean, it's amazing what you guys have put together on a daily basis with your 2 editors, the amount of content that is in there, the wide spread of content that is in there. I talked about it: entertainment, sports, politics, news. You grind it all into 30 minutes. And I guess for you, the best part about it, and it's because for sports, I say it's the never-ending soap opera that every day it's something new. I could never really do news itself hardcore because I feel like I'd get bored very simple. Every day there's a winner and loser in sports. But for your show, every day there's something that's hitting the world.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's crazy. It's so, like, interesting. And sometimes Nicole and I will just laugh and be like, why is everyone talking about this today? And so, yeah, sometimes it works out that we get to cover something that we're already super passionate about and that we already follow. And then other times it's like we get to learn about this whole new world that we've never explored before. And I'm like so grateful that I get to almost kind of like educate myself every day. I love learning new things, and so Trending Now has been great for that in terms of like getting to learn more about these like facets of life that I never like explored before. So yeah.
So the obvious question is, what's next?
I don't really have a plan right now. I'm gonna end my tenure at CHCH by going on vacation and
little California dreaming.
Yeah, getting some R&R, and then I want to take this opportunity of being away from work to kind of reinvent what I'm doing every day and try some new things. So I'm going to kind of dive into that when I get back from my trip, see what's out there, see what I can make work for me. And of course, I'll keep you guys posted.
Well, we look forward to finding out exactly what you're doing next, Laura. But I think throughout it all, no matter what happens, whatever corner that you reach, whatever road you go down, you'll still be a sports fan.
I will be.
So you want to talk some sports?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, we're talking about the Blue Jays, folks. It's really becoming the most disappointing year for Blue Jays in recent memory. Like, Laura, where are you as a fan right now?
I'm disappointed, I will say. Obviously, after the last two seasons, everybody kind of expected us to go into this season doing amazing, right? We all thought, okay, we just missed it the last 2 years. Our team is great, and they significantly improved last season. And then this season has just been a dud. I don't know what's going on. And obviously, you're feeling the frustrations from the players who aren't meeting their potential. Like, Vladdy just kind of started getting into the swing of things. Bo's been struggling. Springer's been struggling. So it's kind of been sad to see that, but nice to see these other players like flourish on the field. But it doesn't seem like management is like taking that seriously. Like, you have people like Schneider and Clement getting hits and being the only ones to get hits in like a 2-hit game, and then they don't get played for the next game. So it's kind of bizarre to see what's going on. I understand you want to lead with your star players, but if they aren't performing for you, then you kind of have to rejig things, and it seems like this team this year is really hesitant to do that. Yeah,
change has been really, really hard for the Blue Jays. I mean, hey, George Springer, one of the all-time best leadoff hitters in Major League Baseball history, quite honestly. His numbers put it together. But for the better part of this season, he's been batting under 200. Why did it take them so long to get him out of the leadoff position? I think they lost games because of it. And it's weird. They have this strange unbalance where their hitting can be fabulous, their pitching no good. But for the most part, their pitching's been pretty good. But this team, which is what we were told to be very offensively based, they don't hit.
Yeah. And I'm starting to feel bad for our pitchers because they're having to carry this team. And when we're consistently having games where we're only getting 2-3 hits, that pitching has to be absolutely perfect. Like, there's no margin for error, right?
Gosman said it the other day.
Yep. And yeah, I feel bad for our pitchers. It's nice to see that they can deliver because they really have been. But yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the thought process is. I don't know. We hear a lot about the Blue Jays tactics being from an analytical perspective. And I just think that over the last 3, maybe even 4 years, we've seen that this just isn't working for this group of guys that we have on this team. We were talking about it before we got into it, but last season, the second half of the season, Bo Bichette just exploded, and it kind of sounded like in all of his post-game interviews that he just stopped listening to the analytics and was paying attention to the pitches. Of course, you need those analytics in today's day and age because baseball is just on such a different level, but if it's not working, it's not working. You kind of have to have some give and take, and it doesn't really seem like they have that.
What about the manager? Like, I mean,
I hate him.
But what's funny, and there are people out there that are not Schneider fans, but I get a feeling here because it's been said by the general manager, it's been said by the president that everything we do is a collaborative decision. And baseball manager to me is a guy that is in the dugout watching his team on a daily basis, knows what's going on in the locker room, knows who's hurt, and that should be trusted to put together a lineup. I'm told that the Blue Jays lineup is put together not just by the manager. It's a collaborative decision. Like every other team, and really for hundreds of years in baseball, that's been the manager's decision. But I just don't like the method of what they've got there in terms of a management like lineup, or I guess if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like they've Atkins and Shapiro found themselves a yes man who's just going to do what they want him to do. And it's just not working for the team. And it's something that I've said the last two postseasons. This current Blue Jays squad never seems like, pardon my French, they have a fire under their ass. They always just seem resigned to whatever happens in the game. And we've seen that a lot this season from John Schneider. You know, people try to ask him these tough questions like, how can you be okay with 2 hits a game? Or, you know, how can your players just not be hitting? And he just gives these casual answers like, well, it was a good pitcher today, or, oh, you know, the classic, the tip my hat line to the pitcher. And it's like, no,
that's a good team over there.
And it's like, no, you need to be mad that your players aren't delivering for you. And because then that's going to, in a way that's going to motivate them, right? Like, you don't want to belittle them and abuse them in the locker room by any means, but you need to have that passion and that fire to get that passion and that fire to your players. Otherwise, they're also just going to be like, oh, well, we'll try again tomorrow. And that's kind of what this squad seems like. It's kind of like a shrug of the shoulders, and we just move on to the next game.
All right. Well, so going forward, it looks like based on contracts that, you know what, the Jays are going to have to make a decision. Who should they build their team around? Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., none? Or can you find a way to pay them what they're going to be? They're going to be looking at anywhere, in my opinion, between, as their contracts come up at the end of next year, $40 to $50 million a season. That's right, folks. Or do you build around both? What do you do here?
The Bo Bichette lover in me says build around Bo, but yeah, I don't know. To me, Bo and Vlad, again, like, it goes back to leadership. Like, they don't seem like they have the chops to be team leaders. That's why I got excited when the prospect of Shohei Ohtani came up, not just for his talent, but he just seemed like somebody who was going to be able to, like, lead this team, take on more of a pseudo manager role, and kind of help everybody get where they need to be. And I just don't think Vlad and Bo have that. They haven't been delivering this season like some of our one-year contract newer players have been. So when it comes down to it, do you risk paying them all that money and them not delivering, or do you risk them leaving and then delivering because the team that they go to understands their playing styles better? And I feel like it could go either way. So if it were up to me, I would love to keep Bo, but I just don't think that this is going to be good for the team. It sucks that we should be going into another time of rebuilding, but this team we've crafted is just not working.
I think you're correct on that. I think it's come a time where real tough decisions have to be made. And here's an example. The Leafs, maybe even the Raptors more recently, they're in purgatory, right? They're like, especially the Raptors, they're kind of in this team that's in the middle that might make the playoffs, might not make the playoffs. Well, I would rather see them build towards something or spend a whole lot of money and become, or at least attempt to become, winners. I feel like the Blue Jays, to their credit, every year they try to go out and get someone. This was tough this year because you're right. They threw everything at Ohtani. It didn't get it. They didn't get him. They ended up getting Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who I made fun of. Who's been really good. He's been really good. Maybe one of their most consistent batters, quite honestly. He's right near the 300. But yeah, it's a real dangerous place as a sports fan to have your team in the middle. Like, you're in that mushy middle, and maybe, I said, maybe getting to the playoffs. Maybe, we just missed out. We're so close. And you can spring that out, and you can stretch out over years, but eventually you get tired of it. And at some point, you have to make the decision, and I know finances of the fact that they just spent millions and billions of dollars to renew Rogers Center and make it into a real ballpark. I think there's a third sort of level of things that they're going to be doing in this next offseason. So, I mean, they need to recoup that money by having people in the building. But if your team's no good, but remember this, Laura, it wasn't all that long ago where the Baltimore Orioles were winning 70 games. It was only a couple of years ago the Yankees were an embarrassment. 2 seasons ago, the Red Sox were nowhere to be found. The Blue Jays' opportunity, remember they were talking about this window of opportunity? It's closed.
Yeah.
I think it's time you got to sell. Get rid of people.
Yeah, I agree. And if that includes upper tier people, then get rid of them too, because we lost, who was it? Alex Anthopoulos, is that his name?
Yep.
We lost him, and he's doing great. He's building a great team.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting here twiddling our thumbs, it feels like. So.
Yeah. Football now, Tiger Cats. You talked about it. You're at the home opener, which was not a sellout. People were talking about that. Team is also 0-3. They've not won a Grey Cup since 1999. Hamilton sports fan, which you are you losing faith?
I mean, was there ever any? I don't know. Based on, I have to say, I'm not the most avid CFL or just football in general watcher, but I do hear my dad raging in the basement watching the games every weekend. I hear it from you guys here. I hear it from our editor, Justin, who's a mega Ticats fan.
Oh, yeah. He's bigger than I am.
Yeah. Everybody just seems frustrated, and I think my dad kind of summed up the Ticats experience at the home opener with that just awful loss that shouldn't have happened. They were actually playing really well, and they really, really should have won that game. But my dad kind of summed it up, and he said the Ticats always find a way to lose. I feel like that is just what I hear in your chatter in the newsroom and from him is, I feel like people are frustrated with them, you know? Like, just like the Blue Jays, people are frustrated and they're like, why do I want to go and watch them lose?
You know, I find, you know, as you know, I'm part of the Tiger Cats broadcast, and, you know, and of course I have a partial feeling to the team, whether it be on a professional basis or a fan basis as well, too. I want to see them do well.
Of course.
Because, I mean, when the Ticats do well, it's good for business. It's good for business for them. It's good for business for us here at CHCH. And it's funny because I get the same question there that it gets thrown to me here, and this goes well beyond, you know, your time, right? There's a 9-team league, and that the Tiger Cats have not won a Grey Cup since 1999. Like, even the celebration that you're talking about, the season opener, was the celebration of the 1999 team as they all came out, and there was some wonderful names.
It was nice.
And it was really nice and heartwarming for the fans, especially to see that team, because that's what we remember. That's the last bit of greatness that we remember. And on the broadcast, we had Mike Morreale, you know, a Hamilton guy, is doing some amazing things in his career right now, but at a time was a local hero, and he said on the broadcast that we are loving this moment. We are loving the admiration. We appreciate the fact that fans still know who we are, or we can see a Morreale jersey in the crowd. But he said it's time that we're not the last team to win a Grey Cup.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. And it sucks for the fans, because one thing I know about the Hamilton Ticats is they have one of the most passionate fan bases across the CFL.
No doubt.
People love that team so much, and it sucks that they've just been resigned to kind of having a under par team for the last couple of years. So same as the Blue Jays. I hope they can figure it out. I hope they can get a fire under their butts and do something, because I mean, they made it to the Grey Cup not that long ago.
Yep.
They did it. They just need that final nail in the coffin, but Hopefully they can get there this season. Right now, 0-3 doesn't look like it, but you never know.
No, it's an 18-game season.
You can't count them out.
They're going to get hot. It's going to start this weekend, right in the nation's capital. F1, which I know you love. Max Verstappen says he's going to remain focused on driving for Red Bull until the end of his contract, which will be the conclusion of the 2028 season. There are rumors that other teams are pecking and poking. Do you believe that he will stay at Red Bull?
For the time being, for the foreseeable future, absolutely. There's no reason for him to leave. He's winning. The car's great. And through and through, one thing that people who don't follow F1 a lot need to know is Max is just like a nerd. Like, he leaves the F1 race to go race F1 tracks in like a simulator. So if he's going to keep winning in the Red Bull car and they're going to keep giving him a car that's going to win, I can't see why he would want to leave anytime soon and risk, all these F1 drivers, they're chasing those records, right? Right now, everybody's chasing Lewis Hamilton's records, and he's doing really well. He has been doing really well for the last 3 seasons. So yeah, again, I don't know why he would want to leave unless he got bored of getting first and was looking for a challenge.
But here's the thing, Laura, and I think you would understand this. F1 is a very elitist sport, has been forever. When you look at the history books, maybe 100 years from now, will you think that Red Bull was the equivalent of the red car or the Silver Arrows? The Silver Arrows, Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's a branding. It's number one. It's like the high end. Ferrari. Viva Ferrari, Italy. There's just the red car.
Yeah.
There is just those two teams. And of course, Mercedes are the one, and some of their high-end bosses have been talking, it would be nice to have Max in our car.
Of course.
They've been doing a lot of talking, right? Even Toto Wolff, he's been saying things. I wonder if in his mind, I mean, look at what Hamilton did. He's at the tail end of his career. He's got all the records broken, almost every significant record that Schumacher ever had. But he craves to be in that car. The same reason why he left McLaren to go to Mercedes.
Yeah. I think Max will leave eventually. I just don't see it happening in the near future. He's young. You reference Hamilton. There's also Alonso, Vettel last year. There's Sergio Perez, Verstappen's teammate. There's all these guys who are well into their late 30s and into their 40s who are still racing. And I think unless something crazy happens or he just stops caring about racing, Max is going to be one of those guys who stays in F1 for a very long time. So I can see him leaving eventually because, yeah, you're right. Has Red Bull been dominant? Absolutely. Do I look at Red Bull as an illustrious, storied F1 team? No. And every driver wants to be on one of those teams eventually. I just think in the next 4 or 5 years, it's not a rush for Max. And he's winning right now with them, and he has some sort of allegiance. The only thing is the Red Bull Racing program has developed so many excellent drivers, right? But yeah, I think in the future he'll leave. I just don't think it'll be within the next 2 or 3 years.
Well, when the rules changes, or at least these cars change, and I mean, we've yet to see. There's some testing that's going on right now. It'll be fun to see because it is part. I mean, we saw the domination of Mercedes for some time, and then the car changes happened, and they were really slow to adapt. I mean, still right now, it's questioned if they've really mastered what these new cars or what these current cars are all about. Montreal, the Canadian Grand Prix, just passed, and really an outstanding race. So much fun.
Oh, yeah.
But there was controversy in the paddock. On Sky Sports, F1 analyst Jacques Villeneuve, a former world champion, Canadian athlete of the year in this country, just blasted out of nowhere. They were talking about Daniel Ricciardo, a well-known racer, raced for a number of teams, and he just went off. And he basically said he's washed up. I think you're a fan of Daniel Ricciardo. Is he washed up?
This is like the Bo Bichette conversation. I hate to say it, but he might be. Red Bull, before he got moved into where he is now, AlphaTauri, now RB Racing, whatever, they had said that he was doing really well and making really good lap times in the Red Bull car. We obviously know the RB Racing car is not as good as the Red Bull car, but he's only cracked the top 10 once this season. There's been 10 races. He's only cracked it once, and that was in Canada, probably because he had a little bit of something to prove.
Remember what he said? I think he put the car fifth after qualifying.
Yeah.
And then he got asked about the Jacques question, and he said, "Eat blank," right?
Yeah. So that's been the only time he's cracked the top 10. In 10 races, he has only paced or did better in the race than Yuki 4 times. So I don't know, if you can't beat your younger teammate, he should be better than Yuki. No offense to Yuki, but he just should be, because of his experience, the previous teams he's been on. He just should be better. So if you can't claw your way into the top 10 and you can't do better than your teammate, maybe I feel like they just kept him around because his personality, everybody loves him, brings some eyes to the sport. But
it's funny that you bring that up, because the Drive to Survive series has done wonders for opening up the skies for Formula One, a whole new fan base, a whole younger fan base, a North American fan base, which is a massive for the sport. And no doubt, Daniel Ricciardo, the one race that he won, drinking wine out of his shoe.
the shoey.
The shoey. And then Lewis Hamilton, I wouldn't drink that. That's where the toe jam is. I'll always remember that line, right? But it was, depending on what you think of his production and his results, he is a character. And F1 has been always criticized for being very stale, and the drivers being very close to the vest in terms of what they talk about. Daniel is a colorful guy, and but I feel like you gotta mix that personality with results, and driving for a couple of teams, and some of the better teams as well too. I just wonder if, at some point you lose a little bit of that speed, and I don't think he's right there anymore.
Yeah, me neither. It's like I said, it's unfortunate. He was a favorite of mine, but yeah, I just don't think he can get there. And unfortunately, not every driver on the grid can get there, but not every driver on the grid Staddy owns a team. So I think he might be out eventually.
Hey, WNBA now, and everyone knows who's. The Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese sort of discussion has been going on for some time. What a rivalry! What conversation it has created for the WNBA. Well, last night she tied Candace Parker for the WNBA's longest streaks of double-doubles in a season. That's points and rebounds at 9 games in a row. So got to be over 10 points and over 10 rebounds in what she has done. The issue, or the conversation is that she's seen as young, brash, cocky. You remember what she did to Caitlin Clark with the shoving the ring, look at my ring right in her face. And then in a recent interview, she's, and talking about how she's progressing and how she's coming into the game as a rookie. And then she said, "I'm a dog. You can't teach that." Do you agree that she's too cocky for the sport?
No. The men are like that, and she clearly has the stats to back it up. I can see her having a little bit of a chip on her shoulder coming into her rookie season, just because she knows she's good. But a lot of the media attention has been on Caitlin Clark. She had that little bit of media attention when her team won the NCAA championship. But it almost immediately kind of turned on her. And I remember feeling bad for her, because it was like she was at the highlight of her career, and just the internet kind of turned on her because they didn't like a couple of the comments that she made, and they weren't anything outlandish by any means. And so, she kind of had to fight back against that in her final NCAA season. And then it became the Caitlin Clark show. And then the WNBA became the Caitlin Clark show. So I can see her having a bit of a chip on her shoulder, that all the attention has kind of been focused toward Clark. But I don't blame her for being cocky and talking a big game, because she can back it up. And that's like a personality of a lot of the men who play in the NBA. Like, yeah, we're great. Deal with it.
It's really interesting that you make that comparison. I read an article a couple of days ago that said that she is the Dennis Rodman of the WNBA. And it was a headline. I was like, huh? But then I think about it, right? About being different, being outspoken. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say outspoken. Saying what you feel, right? Like maybe that's what I should actually say instead of. And I thought it was really interesting. And that not everyone fits into the box. Not everyone was going to be like Michael Jordan or LeBron James. And everyone's not going to just be this perfect media person. People want to be individuals. People want to be themselves. And I kind of changed my opinion, because I even thought sometimes, I'm like, Angel, man, you're not going to win too many fans. I don't know how important it is to you, but I do know that branding and this is all really important to a lot of sports, a lot of athletes right now. And as this women's sport grows, I don't know if you want to be Caitlin Clark. You know, there's a sort of dryness to that, in my opinion, but she is the big deal right now. And she's the big dog right now that everyone's talking about and is showing up to stadiums for. It's an interesting thought. Now, I want to throw this at you, because I know you guys spent a couple of days talking about this on Trending Now. There's a conversation in the United States, and I've brought this up before on this program, that there's a color issue, or, you know, a race issue, probably is what I should say, between Caitlin Clark, maybe not between directly, but there's that scrap going on right now in this league. Do you believe that to be true?
I think so. I think, you know, white people still make up the majority of the population in North America. And I think Caitlin Clark was the first time in a while that white people have seen themselves in the sport of basketball, and they're latching onto that. So don't talk bad on her name. Don't hurt her in the games. Like, this is our person, right?
Great white, like a great white hope kind of thing.
Yeah, and really, like, if I can remember, the last time we saw that in the NBA was Steve Nash, and not even that many people latched onto him too much because he was a Canadian. So there was still that bit of like dissonance for American basketball fans. But yeah, I think that's what's happening. They're seeing themselves reflected in the sport in a big way for the first time almost in forever, and they're holding her as this little like diamond of the sport. And yeah, because like I said, referencing back to Angel Reese, or even some of the other women who have already been playing this sport and who have already been building the WNBA, people saying like, you know, like they're jealous of Caitlin Clark. Yeah, maybe they are, because they've been putting in the work, they've been grinding. And not to say Caitlin Clark hasn't been. She's definitely talented. She's definitely put in the work during her high school and her college careers. But she kind of just got into this league and got to the top in terms of money, sponsorships, deals, like really fast and really easy. So I think that's what's happening is, yeah, white America is seeing themselves reflected in basketball for one of the first times. And yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting, it's sensitive. I don't know, you know, we as a society struggle with these kinds of conversations, and I think you have to talk about
Absolutely.
it. You know, excuse me, and that you have to talk about it, and that it's funny because we get this in men's sport, but because the WNBA is so new, still, I mean, it's been around for 25 years, but it's still relatively new to an audience, and as we are seeing women's sports become a thing now, right? Like, I mean, right here in this country, the PWHL, we've never seen hockey on a women's level like this, too. And I don't know if they'll ever get to that level because the WNBA has more eyes on it, and it's more nationally broadcast than the hockey sport is. But I just can't believe it's created this much discussion. I think at the end of the day, it's maybe good for the WNBA because people are talking about it.
For sure.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see where this sport steers itself in the very near future. All right. On X or Twitter, what do you call it?
I go between X and Twitter. I try to correct myself when I say Twitter, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah. All right. Reviews for last night's NHL awards show range from brutal, uncomfortable, unwatchable. Why is it that when the National Hockey League try to do something like this, they struggle? I mean, and I will compare it to the NBA awards show. Why do they struggle like this?
I don't want to sound rude, but I think it comes down to the fact that hockey players are kind of boring. They're kind of boring. Like when I think about the NBA and I think about, you know, the personalities in the NBA, like the Russell Westbrooks and the Chris Pauls and the Kevin Durants, like they're enthusiastic. They're eager. They really lean into the fashion side of things, and they just seem like they have more personality. Whereas with the NHL players, you really don't see them outside of the NHL season. Even like during the season, they're not attending events or they're not attending publicized events. Like, I don't know. I just feel like when I hear hockey players talk, it's a lot of like, And like, how are you supposed to work with that? I mean, they don't get good hosts, so that's an issue to begin with.
I think the host was awful last night.
Yeah, he was terrible.
Awful.
He's known for doing like impressions on TikTok. I don't even know why they thought that was a good idea. Like, if you're gonna go for a TikTok comedian, at least get one who does stand-up comedy. There's a lot of them. But yeah, I know a lot of the topic of conversation last night was that interaction with the host and Nikita Kucherov. And everyone was like, whoa, what did you want Kucherov to do? It wasn't funny. But, like, I don't know if you remember at the All-Star game, Kucherov looked like he didn't even want to be there the whole time. And every time somebody talked to him, what I just did was what he did. Like, Like, so, I don't know. I feel like hockey players just... They're getting there with like the Austin Matthews and the Mitch Marners being friends with Justin Bieber.
I got to stop you there. It's funny that you bring this up because guys like Austin Matthews, even Mitch Marner, they're trying to change, I think, or at least be individuals, right?
Yeah.
But they get criticized in the hockey world for doing so, Laura.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's part of it. It's this. I don't know. I don't want to paint hockey fans as bad, but like hockey fans are, I feel like historically like some of the worst fans in terms of like being open to new things and new people. So yeah, like, but I feel like.
Is it Canadian? Is it a Canadian-U.S. thing, you think?
No, I don't know. I just feel like, it kind of goes across other sports as well, but I find because sports are predominantly, their fans are male, and sometimes men have a hard time like stepping out of the box, that when they see other people doing it, there's like this cognitive dissonance almost. Like even in the NBA, the draft happening, there's that one guy, I do not remember his name for the life of me, and I'm so sorry, but he's big on TikTok. He's a little bit more flamboyant. He likes to paint his nails, and I saw everybody just absolutely reading him on X over the last 2 days, and I'm like, let them be different. Not every sports player has to fit into this square box of just being a macho man who wears boring clothes and doesn't talk a lot. And I feel like the NHL hasn't quite got their foot out of that box yet. And I hope players like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and even, Cale Makar and Trevor Zegras, I hope they can bring a little bit more life into hockey. I feel like this was one of the more fun and exciting all-star games that the NHL has had in a really long time. But yeah, I mean, but then when you have that loser Gary Bettman just squashing anything fun to do with the sport, that also doesn't help. You can't entirely blame the players.
Well, and I wonder if it goes back to, and this is why I brought up the Canadian angle, right? Because, I mean, you have someone like for many, many years, like a Don Cherry, would use his platform on CBC on Coach's Corner to display players coming off the bus, going to the rink, wearing suits. And we all love suits. A guy can look real funky in a suit, but there's just not one regular cut of a suit, right?
Yeah.
And and nowadays there's a lot of people about your age, whatever, they're wearing suits differently.
Yeah.
They're not wearing socks. They're wearing thin tie. Like, they're doing all kinds of things. Prints on an actual suit. You don't see that in the National Hockey League. And guys like Don Cherry would say, we don't do that in hockey. We don't do that.
Yeah.
And he would be preaching, kids, this is the way you do it. This is the way you do it there, right? And I think that gets into this hockey mentality, right? And it's funny that you talk about, I'm not saying that hockey players don't go to shows and concerts and stuff, but they're not predominantly forward out there. Like, remember Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul, he won an Academy Award, right? Ventured out, did different things. We don't see that in hockey players. Or, again, when hockey players do try it, they get squashed and they're saying, we don't do that. Yeah. That's not what we do here.
Yeah, and I think it just goes to show you that there's still like an element of toxic masculinity and even misogyny in hockey still. Look at what we're going through this year, a trial for 5 former NHL players in the World Juniors team in 2018. So what we saw like 2 years ago with Kyle Beach, like I feel there's hockey hasn't gotten out of that toxic masculinity. And I feel, not to bring up Pride, but it is June, I feel like the quashing of Pride nights in the league is just like another way to enforce that.
Did that bother you?
It bothered me a lot because I just don't get it. Like, calling an entire group of people essentially a distraction for a sport, it just seems immature. It also, once again, just puts up this box of toxic masculinity around hockey that you're only allowed to be straight and really a lot of times white. Like, it just seemed like a really big bummer on something that a lot of the teams were trying to grow. And, we mentioned these guys not really branching out. You had, I can't remember his name.
What team?
I don't even remember. It might be on the Oilers. There's just this one guy who had been working really hard with whatever team he was on, their city's like LGBTQ community, and really wanted to bring it in. He's not a member himself, but he has friends, and it was just like super important to him. So you had this one guy who was trying to make a difference and trying to start an initiative in the league, and then you basically just told him that him plus the people he supports are a distraction. And I just think sports are becoming global things that everybody has their eyes on, and it's just silly to not include other elements in the sport. Not just from a pride point of view, but from, every point of view.
Well, and you're right, because the look of hockey players are changing. A lot of players come from Canada, and the demographics of Canada are changing. I don't think everyone grows up like they did in the past, and this is a bit of a generalization, that grows up wanting to be hockey players. I don't think that's you look right here in this city, right? Shea Gilgeous-Alexander grows up wanting to be a basketball player, not a hockey player. There's some changes in this country, and I think hockey should do a much better job. And it's funny because I think there are a lot of people out there that are trying, and you're right. There are a number of players, Morgan Riley being one of them. It was really important to have these Pride celebration days. And really, they were just games. They're one-offs, right? And it got to the point that, the league put out a statement saying it's become a distraction. And I don't know, sometimes you got to fight through the distractions to get to the other side, and the league didn't seem willing to go the distance and make this important to so many people out there, whether you're gay, straight, black, white, whatever. It was really disappointing.
Yeah, anyway. They seemed to just wanted to, the few players who didn't want to talk about it, they just wanted to protect them.
And that's fine too. They could be that. They can be that way too.
Of course.
Right? Or maybe they don't have to have a stick with rainbow. Like, they could have done it. Like, it could have worked.
Exactly. And I think, that was like a way to do it instead of just shutting it down. Just be like, okay, if you don't want to wear the stuff, don't, but come out on the ice and practice. I think that was where it kind of went a little left field, was these players just straight up being like, I'm not even going to come out onto the ice. And it's like, it's not that serious. Nobody, like, anyways, I could talk about it forever.
Yeah, end of the day, the NHL award show sucks, okay?
Yeah, end of the day.
That's where we started.
NHL players need more personalities. Let them have personalities, Gary Bettman.
Speaking of personality, Laura, you have been quite a personality at our station and someone that I have admired from afar and from close range as well, too. We sit pretty close together. It is really, it's funny we end on a conversation like that. And I'll say this, too. As a guy that's 57 years old now, I look at the world and I think of the people who are going to make the world whatever it's going to be in the future. And I see you as one of those people, as a leader of a community. I don't know what you have planned for your life. I do know that whatever you do in your life, you're going to be real good at. And again, seeing your growth in my time here at the station, I don't talk to a lot of people at this station. That's for other reasons, but whatever. But it's been really awesome to watch your growth and see what you have produced. The show is a big success. It's a loss, in my opinion, at this station that you're gone, but I think it's going to be a big gain for you probably in what you do. So if I can say, and I'm glad I have this platform to say this, I'm really proud of you.
Thanks, Bubba.
Because I remember sometimes seeing you, a little young Laura coming in there doing her thing, and to see what you're leaving at is an amazing thing for me to see. I love good stories. I love progress, and I love when people progress as well too. So whatever you do, please let me know. Keep us up to date. It's been a wonderful experience getting to know and work with you as well too. So thank you for joining us and talking sports as well too, because that's why I love you even more.
Thanks so much for having me on, Bubba. It's been honestly a pleasure getting to know you both professionally and personally. So thank you for always being in my corner and supporting me and telling us how to pronounce certain players' names.
That's what I'm here for, Laura. All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Bubba.
Hey, folks, that's your Sportsline podcast for the day. And as you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports with people who have passion. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote, the Sportsline podcast want you. Look us up on many of CHCH's social media platforms and we'll get you in for a conversation. While you're at it, please comment because we do appreciate your feedback. It makes us better. For the talented minds and hands that do make this podcast possible, thank you so very much, and we'll see you next week.